Hi everyone, and welcome to my wrap-up video for the Orilium Magical Readathon that was created by G. I had fun, so I'm not creative enough like a bunch of people that did this to create images of their characters as well as a name. Now I couldn't do that. But I did go through like the novice path and everything, so I got that that part done before well before the Spring Equinox, when the name deadline was done, even though you could take longer. So I went ahead and jumped right into the Spring Equinox for the Orilium, and I am a part of the Order of the Crescent, so that's what I did. Now I went with a career that was specifically for the Order of the Crescent, if that's what we wanted. I loved the idea of that. Whenever I was a child, I always imagined how cool it would be if I had powers like an X-Men or something like that, that I could be able to control all of the elements, not just the weather like storm, but other things as well, like, you know, like the water and the earth and just everything. I just always thought that was cool. So I went with Master of the Elements because it was kind of a nostalgic vibes coming from that when I was reading the synopsis and all of that for that. So let's go ahead and get in. I will tell you the classes that I had to take to become Master of the Elements, as well as what I read and what I rated them. I'm not going to go into synopsises. I'll just have the titles and the author listed in the description box. And then if you want to learn more, then you can go to your area, location of choice to look up more information on these. I mean, I might go into a little bit of a synopsis, but not, you know, not that in depth. If you want more in depth synopsis and review, then just keep an eye out for individual book reviews that'll be popping up. Okay, let's just go ahead and get into this and we'll just kind of see how it goes. So class number 1 was Elemental Studies, and this was Basics of Aerodynamics. And for this one, I was to read a book that was under 100 pages. So this one I selected a poetry book, and this is The Tower by W.B. Yeats. So I ended up giving this one 2 stars, mostly because I just didn't understand a lot of it. I think as I become more adept as a reader, especially as a poetry reader, then I'll be able to understand more and that rating will go up. So 2 stars for this poetry collection. Is by no means bad in any way. For me, I interpreted that with the poetry collection as I just didn't understand more than half of it, if that makes sense. There's a few things I understood. There is one thing that stood out to me that I liked, which was about a mermaid. That one I completely understood and actually liked the poem for, but because more than half of this collection of poetry I did not understand, it got a 2 star. I am going to hold on to this and read it again in the future. I might wait like a year or 2 and then try reading it again at that point to see if I understand more of it as my reading evolves and I understand things a little bit more. So yeah, so 2 stars, and that class is done. Okay, class number 2 is Shape-Shifting, which is the formation of claws. Read a book with, let's see, it says A Creature with Claws on the cover. Now I've seen a couple of interpretations. One interpretation was that you actually had to have a creature that has claws on the cover, like the claws are on the cover. For me, I just went with a creature that generally has claws, and the creature is on the cover. I went with Guest Cat. So as you can see, there's no images of claws. It's just the top part of the head, but cats generally have claws. So, especially if they're more wild. But since most cats have claws, I went with this. That was my interpretation of it. So anyway, The Guest Cat by Takashi Hiraide. This I ended up giving this one 4 stars. Oh my goodness. It was so beautifully written. It is definitely more on the lyrical side of things. It's written in one person's point of view, and it's written from the husband's point of view, and he talks about things with this, his life with his wife, and then the cat enters, and how things kind of evolve, and you're just kind of watching the coming and goings of life. So it's not quite a biography because it's much more lyrically written, and this is a fiction book, but it kind of gives the vibes like it could be a lyrical or could be a biography type of a thing, because of it's just about this guy's life. So it's more of a contemporary. This does take place in Japan. But I loved this, and I loved this enough that I went and I purchased another book by Takashi because the writing was that beautiful in my opinion. It's like, okay, so here's a sentence from it. It says, "A pond which received water cascading over a waterfall was located in the center of the garden a little to the east, and there were 2 planters for water lilies, embracing more than one variety of the aquatic flower embedded in the earth a short distance from the pond and near the veranda." That's what all the writing was like in this book, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was extremely well done. So highly recommend Takashi for anyone interested in this. This one is called The Guest Cat. Okay, class number 3 was Animal Studies, which was The Ways of the Pegasus, and this was to read a quick read. So this one I did go with a nonfiction book, mostly because it's a middle grade to YA nonfiction, so I knew it would be fairly quick, and plus it's like you have pictures. So this one is Women in Sports, 50 Fearless Athletes Who Played to Win, written and illustrated by Rachel Ignotofsky. So this is all about women who made an impact or a difference in sports. This, and part of the reason why this was so quick to get to, is this is the spread for each. You have an image and then just a short little biography about each woman. And it tells what they did in sports or what sports they went into, like figure skating, skydiving, things like that. Gives a little bit of synopsis of it. And it's written in like from the oldest person that made an impact to the most recent person that made some sort of an impact. If you're looking for a feminist nonfiction book, this would be a good one, just because it's so interesting. So, and you can kind of tell from the cover, you've got swimming, you have basketball, you have roller derby, baseball, archery, tennis. So this covers a lot of sports. So if you're big into sports, you might like this one. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. This is definitely a book that I think I'm going to unhaul and let this go to someone who would also like to read this, kind of pass it on to another home, because I'm just not going to reread it. I did enjoy learning about a lot of these women and the impact they made, especially the ones about figure skating. Like there's a volleyball player, that was really cool. A dog musher, that one was pretty cool to read about. I mean, they're all pretty cool. So, I don't know, I liked it, but I'm not... I like sports, but not to the point to really hang on to this. So, it was interesting while I had it. I enjoyed the imagery on the page, and yeah, so... I mean, I don't really know what else to say about this. It was good, but I know that I will not reread it, so I'm going to let this go ahead and go to another home for someone that will enjoy it a little bit more than I will probably. So, yeah. 4 stars. Okay, that class is done. 3 more classes. So the 4th class is Astronomy, which is basics, which is asteroids and comets. And this is to read a book that is at the top of your TBR list. So for this one, I've been wanting to read for a bit. I mean, all of my books are on the top of my TBR list, but I've really been wanting to get to this one, which is Into the Water by Paula Hawkins. I gave this one 4 stars. This author wrote The Girl on the Train, and I really enjoyed that one, and I love this one just as much as Girl on the Train. I believe. It's been a while, so this may be just as much as Girl on the Train or a little bit more. This, I will say, huge trigger warning for rape, sexual assault, suicide, and that's all very extremely prevalent in this book. So definite warning, if those things are bothering to you, definitely avoid this book. So yeah, I don't know, it's just, you know, and I've seen this on the news a lot. A lot of places have these hot spots where people will go and jump off of a bridge, they'll go and do certain things in that particular area, and so then the community rallies or the government to try and make it a little bit safer by either barricading an area or to give people access to or stuff. So it's kind of similar, except the government's not involved in this, and it's just one of those things where it's like, oh, okay, well, someone else drowned. I think what I really liked about this book too was the reference to kind of going back to this woman that was accused of witchcraft and what they did to women in the area that were accused of witchcraft. That always fascinates me. So that's part of why I like this so much, because it kept kind of referring back to that. So that's part of why I like this one so much. But yeah, 4 stars. Okay, and let's see. Class number 5 is Conjuration, which is Conjuring of Light. Read a book with a source of light on the cover. So this one, I decided to go with the second book in a series, and I read Mystic Lake. This is by Debbie Ihler Rasmussen. This is book 2 in the Mystic trilogy. Each book has gotten just a little bit bigger. This one was over 400 pages. So the source of light, you have the stars, and then you have fireflies. So there's 2 sources of light on this cover. I can't really say much about this book without kind of going into the first one, but or spoiling anything. The first one, what I'll say is you're following Aspen, her brother, and then they make 2 friends in this new area. They move from somewhere along the beach where they can go surfing to Tennessee. So they're making new friends, but Aspen is learning more about her ability to see ghosts. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what it's about, but it's that her family has huge, long history in this little town of Tennessee, and for good and bad, you're seeing kind of both sides and things like that. And yeah, I don't know. It was good. I like this one. I gave it 4 stars. I'm thoroughly enjoying this trilogy. This one was better than the first one. There were still some grammatical errors because I do believe this is kind of, I think it's independently published. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% positive on that, but there were more grammatical errors in the first book than this one. So the editing has gotten better. Like in the first one, a whole paragraph repeats. That you don't have the case with this one. You have a few words that kind of repeat that is unnecessary. And when quotation marks are being used, you might have the start of a quotation or of a quote, but the ending of the quotation is not shown. So there's a few grammatical issues with this, or editing issues with this, but the editing is better in this book compared to the first one. And so I imagine the third one will be better as far as editing goes. But I read this one, so 4 stars. That completed the Conjuration class. Okay, the last class that I had to take was Restoration, which is Cure Wounds. And this was a book featuring healers. Now, I went with this book because I knew that in this world there are healers. And I'm not talking about doctors. I'm talking with people that have this ability to heal people. They also have the ability to kill people. But they can help save people's lives by touch and like doing something, movement with their hand or something. So this is kind of magical ability. But the book I selected, so I wasn't sure how prevalent the healers were going to be, but they actually were really prevalent. Rule of Wolves by Leigh Barduo. This is the second in the King of Scars duology. I gave this one 4 stars. I did like this one. It was the first almost half of it was pretty slow, but of course it's continuing to build the story and the plot and the world and things like that. So it didn't kick off until the latter half of the book. and it was kind of slow to kind of kickstart into the action. But at the same time, it was, you don't want I mean, this was over 500 pages. And if it's over 500 pages of action, that's a little too fast and stuff for me, in my taste, but I liked it. For those of you who are interested in this, there is queer rep in this. You do have someone who, I guess, if they were in real life, they could be bi, I'm thinking, because there is this person who, in previous books in this world, was in a relationship with a man, loved this man, and now you can kind of sense the budding love and romance between this particular character and a female. So so there's that rep. So the first book in this duology, King of Scars, so many people were disappointed because this is supposed to follow King Nikolai, and he was not that prevalent in the first book. He is much in this book, a lot more. You do have references back to the Six of Crows as far as the characters there, like Kazbrecker, Inej, Matthias. I'm blanking on a lot of their other names, but the characters from the Six of Crows duology appear in this one a little bit, just a little bit. So don't get your hopes on that. But yeah, so it's this, obviously with the Grisha, there are healers. There's some that can heal people. You have ones that can make people's pulse drop so they pass out, to try and protect those around them. So there's healers, so this counts. I gave this, like I said, 4 stars, and I loved it. So that is all of the classes that I had to take. I completed all of them. I did finish this one day after April, so May 1st, like the last 300 pages of the book, and this is over 800 pages. So I'm still, I know you can go until August to finish the classes technically. If you wanted to do it within the readathon, it had to be between April 1st and the last day of April. I just went into May 1st a little bit, which is perfectly fine. The classes are still complete, especially with this behemoth of a book. But yeah, so I did it. I have finished what I need to start becoming master of the elements, and I look forward to the summer equinox, which I think is in August, so that I can further my career even more. So yeah, so that'll be it for this one. I just wanted to do a quick review. I know I gave a little bit of a synopsis on both of these, but if you want more of my thoughts, definitely keep an eye out for individual book reviews on these books. So that's going to be it for this video. If you participated in the Orilium Magical Readathon, let me know what your order is. Are you order the Crescent as well? Or if you are one of the other orders, and what your career of choice was. Like mine was Master of Elements. What did you decide to go into? So that'll be it. Until next time, stay true to yourself and enjoy a good book, and I will talk to you later.